Hello, everybody. I'm Kanard Lewis, back on the camera. We have our first guest. What's her name? What is your name, girl?
Olivia.
Yes, I call her Oliz from the block. She's amazing, good friend of mine, and she came here to help me out on the season 10. So, Olivia, tell me a little about yourself. Just, keep it brief, but keep it, firm.
So my name is Olivia, obviously. I was born in Manhattan, raised in Brooklyn, live in Queens. Crazy. And I am a sophomore, and I'm an education major, math education major.
Nice, Olivia. And diving into your life a little bit, obviously. What are the things that definitely define you in terms of your experiences?
Okay. Well, when I was 13, I lost my mother. It's my best friend. And then when I was 14, almost a year and some change later, I lost my father. Had to completely reboot my life. So I definitely think that was one of the biggest things that happened to me that defined Olivia as a person. But I also think that growing up in somewhat the hood, I guess you could say, it gives you a skin,
It definitely does.
It gives you a skin.
Yeah, I know, because I'm from the Bronx myself, so I definitely, you definitely learn a lot from, where you grew up, from, and then it's, personally, me, I think it's all about like exposure.
Right.
What do you expose, to you, how do you keep your ground? And, talking about ground, you lost mother, then a father, right? You living in the hood, that's not an easy life.
No.
So I guess, the one thing I want to focus on, how do you keep your hope up? How do you keep your sanity up? Because, personally, I don't know if I could do that. I did lose a grandma, but I'm definitely not, I wasn't as close to my grandma, obviously, than to my mom. Like my dad wasn't in my life, but, how do you keep your hope up when you got both blood parents
gone?
Yeah. How do you do that?
Don't get me wrong, it was really hard.
No. I don't blame you for it being hard.
It was really hard to deal with. And I went through psych ward, I went through suicide watch, I went through all of it, you know what I'm saying? But I think my biggest thing was wanting to be an educator. And in all honesty, wanted to be an educator. Yes. And I decided that I had to make it somewhere. Eventually, I couldn't be a statistic, that
it's true.
Black female who comes from where she comes from and ends up bad, has a baby. We all, you know about that. But all just crazy circumstances a lot of girls in my situation have gone through. So just not wanting to be that individual, as well as wanting to be an educator, as well as knowing that, whether you believe in God or not, that I was put here for a reason. You know what I'm saying? And I wanted to be an educator from the beginning. From a child, I used to say, I want to teach. I used to sit in front of stuffed animals and teach them back the material I learned in school. And it made me feel good. Even though I knew, they don't understand what's coming out of my mouth. They're not even here. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
So knowing that, I kept that with me. And my parents, what would they have wanted from me? My mom went through so much, worked so hard to get to where I ended up before she died. And my father as well, They worked too hard for me to let it go like that. So it was all of those things. I have nieces. I have a nephew. I live with my niece and I live with my nephew. They're looking at me and saying, oh, that's my aunt. And I want them to be able to say my aunt lost her mother, her father grew up where she grew up, and she's good. I can go over to her house right now. I can call her up, ask her for $150. She can give it to me. I want to be that. So that's what's keeping it going. That's how I stand my ground. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to go. Like you are one of those extraordinary individuals that I was able to get to meet here in Fredonia.
Thank you.
But like you are one of the very few that has the mentality.
Oh,
Because just like you, there's people that have lost their parents. Mm-hmm. Have been in the hood, have grew up in the hood, mm-hmm. but still feel that they're not capable of doing something with their lives. Yeah. So, you as an educator, how do you plan to try to fix that? Like how do you plan to make their lives a little bit better?
I think that my main thing would be to walk in there with I'm not your mama, but I'm going to act like it, and you're going to have to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? And you have to be an assertive individual and show them assertiveness and show them an authoritative figure in front of them, but make sure they also know that I am here for you. Anything you need me for, whether it's to help you with a subject I have no idea about, I will be there for you. I will help you out. I will do anything in my power to help you. And because I had that as a student, I would like to portray that as an educator.
And that's very, very, very key, because what I tend to find, what I've experienced is that kids feel lonely in school. Yeah. That teachers feel that that their job is to just focus on the school stuff. My job, okay, I gotta give them homework, mm-hmm. gotta grade their homework. Okay, now I gotta give them a test. Mm-hmm. Let me grade that test. Not worrying about their social skills, not worrying about who's getting bullied. Like all these, developmental problems are surrounding them, but then teachers are so blind to see it.
Right.
So
right.
What do you think about that?
I'm actually in a class right now, EDU 250, that actually touches on so much of that, like the diversity in the student body, the fact that there are teachers out there who do not know what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? They don't take the pride and the quality in being an educator. And my MAED 105, 106 class, my professor always said, to be an educator is not to just be a teacher. You are to learn, you are to teach, and you are to counsel.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if your students were to ever need you on the outside of that classroom,
you're gonna be there.
You are supposed to be there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're not supposed to be absent. And yes, if you are that type of educator, you will get those circumstances where a child will come to you and they will say, my father's raping me, and I don't know what to do, and I'm scared. And I think that if I tell somebody, he will kill me. You have to know what to do with that. Yeah. And as somebody who has been through, you know what I'm saying?
Those lines.
You have to, I know how to handle that. So I just know that regardless of what concentration I'm in or what avenue I'm in counseling or whatever the case may be, I'm going to do some good.
Yeah.
And I feel that.
And that's the beauty of it, because that's why I speak. That's why I have these conversations. Not only with you on the on the camera, but just outside and other people, because I've been through stuff. You know my story.
Yeah.
You know what I've had to do to get here, and to everybody else, I'm keeping it moving. I'm keeping it safe. But you know the deeper meaning. You know this deep rooted pain there, but I gotta keep it moving, because talking about. Not just, being an educator, but teaching, counseling. We have to be parents of a generation.
Oh, yeah.
It
takes a village.
Yeah, and you don't need to be blood. Again, a teacher can just be just as supportive and helping just as, your mom and dad can be. And that's the beauty of it. That's why I know that you can. Yeah.
I had that. One of the biggest reasons why I want to be an educator, and I'm going to say her name because she means the absolute world to me. Nancy Latimer, Queen School of Inquiry. She was there since 6th grade for me. She went through the death of my mother, the death of my father, coming back to that high school, talking to my principal and saying, she needs a spot back here. She does not belong anywhere else. She belongs in QSI. She belongs here. And she's one of the biggest reasons why I want to be an educator. I fashioned my speaking skills after her. I've fashioned my approach to children after her, my love of children after her, her sarcasticness with the children I've adapted from her. She was my motto as a teacher, and I'm so thankful for her. So thankful.
And that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
You know, just being thankful for what it is. But you know, thank you honestly just for being on the show. Honestly, like it's definitely a blessing to have you here. You know, always. You know, to know you as O-Lives.
O-Lives.
O-Lives. But, you know, if you haven't, you know, get your TKW shirt. I'm only selling them for $10. My girl likes it right here. Your homegirl over here.
Yes, of course.
You know, we'll be here all week. You know, I will see you next week and have a good one. Thank you.